the same way. But this time, let us have an external party vetting these people, but not any political affiliated committee or council or whatsoever. Again, somebody talked about the issue of labor. The issue of labor. I think we also have to question the functions of our particular ministries. For example, the Ministry of Labor and the Ministry of Education will have a record of the current economic, get information about what actually Kenya needs in matters economics. And then through the Ministry of Education, universities and other higher learning institutions should have tailor-made courses that actually meet these needs. This way, together with the Kenya Bureau of Statistics, they should actually know the number of students currently maybe doing their high school or whatever, and how many have actually reached the threshold of doing a particular course. They should have that data. And through the ministerial collaboration between the Ministry of Labor and the Ministry of Education, we will be able. So that is a problem that we need to address. Again, um, we can look at for example, the Kenya Defense Forces, how they do their recruitments. They have certain qualifications that they normally look at. I think the same thing should be extended to these cabinet secretaries and the and I mean and the speakers. We should have job profiles for them. We should have job profiles so that we know if a person is heading the Ministry of Finance, this person is not maybe a graduate of theology. I don't have a problem with that cause, but I'm just saying for the purposes of relevance.
We've heard
So
you.
that is my submission.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you, Ben. Mark and Kekai, please.
Um, I would like to. The first question
Hello, can
was
I
initially, what
give
did you
my
ask
response
about
before I
whether
continue to
Gen
go?
Z will be elected? According to the constitution, let me just
Hello?
respond back to
Mark,
the last
Hello?
speaker.
uh, my Kekai was speaking.
Yeah, so the last speaker have said like the what do you call the next incoming
Hello?
CSS who are yet to be
Is there
selected
anyone
for
here?
a
Hello?
multi-sectoral
Just a minute,
meeting.
Hello?
Mark, can you hear me?
I can actually hear Mark from the beginning. I didn't hear whatever you were saying all along.
Yes. Unfortunately, I don't know if you can hear us. Mark, can you? Mark? Okay, carry on, Kekai. Sorry for that.
Hello, can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can
You
hear you.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Naipan,
can
can
you
you
hear
hear
me
me?
clearly?
Yes, we can hear you both.
Okay, so
Hello?
Kenya is governed by the constitution, is the supreme law. So the constitution clearly states that the cabinet has to be vetted by the parliament. So just because a few individuals feel uncomfortable, we can just change the constitution according to our feeling. That's number one. Number two, the question that you guys ask whether a Gen Z can qualify, according to the constitution of Kenya, there is those subsection that said about leadership and management skills for someone to be a CS, demonstrate leadership skills, work experience prior in senior management roles, either in public or private sector. So I think because most of us Gen Z we are 27 years and below, uh, I don't think there's someone who has held a senior position for 5 years and above that shows that experience. But millennials can be appointed because most millennials are 30, 32. They have been in such role, so they qualify. Yeah, so I think the for millennials and Gen Z. So millennials definitely was speaking before he came to X. He had clearly said like there will be appointment of multi-sectorial whereby there will be both technocrats, different political parties. The youth are accorded 50 positions in that discussions and stuff like that. So that will be next, whereby now there will be a conversation of these are the Kenyans we believe can serve better, because this next cabinet is a determinant whether Kenya will actually develop or will get stuck in this situation of pull and push, of demonstration in and out years and years. Before we were born, there have been demonstration up to date. So this cabinet will be the determinant of a break-even point in matters of development in our country. So it will be so much crucial for everyone who cares about the vision of a better Kenya that they elect, they suggest names of, yes, human being, we are corrupt in nature. We are corrupt in nature. That's why the Bible says we are all fall short of the glory of God. But I still believe that there are those who are their corruption level is less than 10%. They qualify and they are competent and they have a tracking record of what they've been doing previously. They have positive legacy of footprints they've left behind from their jobs, and those are the people that we believe will take Kenya to the next level. Because the point we are as Kenya, we have stalled since Kibaki time up to date. We need to go forward. We cannot just be in this space forever. So that is the point I wanted to stress on, that in as much as, and then also the demonstration part, there was someone who said people can go and demonstrate every other day. The constitution clearly states that everyone has a right as long as you are not interfering with the right of your other citizen. So if people decide to say we demonstrate every Tuesday and Thursday, for example, and you're going to CBD, you are interfering with the right of a business person because they cannot open their shops because they are scared. And they cannot obviously open their shops because you guys are demonstrating in front of their shops. They cannot open their business. That one, you have interfered with the right of other Kenyans. There is no problem if you go demonstrate in Uhuru Park, by the way. You're not interfering with anyone's business. There's also another park next to Uhuru Park, just down to Serena. It's a public forum. If people want to demonstrate every day and go there, those places we don't interfere with other Kenyans, right? Then that is okay. And then, but as long as they are going to interfere with other citizens' rights, then that is not okay, because there is no special Kenyan than another. Every Kenya has equal rights
Okay.
to do what is right at a specific point. And then there's someone who said I don't remember who. There's so many people who have spoken. I was just listening about leadership of Gen Z and stuff like that. Um, Gen Z have leaders, but they just don't want to be known, which is okay for them for obvious purposes. Everyone is scared of, if I get known, let be detained like Raila when he was known by Moi for 6 years, such stuff, which is still okay as long as the movement is yielding positive results, and also they heed to the voice of reasoning. Because if you win and then you keep on demanding and demanding and demanding, that means you are a dictator. And as Walie asked, how then can you hold account the way they are fighting dictatorship? So there has to be a convergence whereby, as you take a peck from the eye of another person, you first take from yours. The accountability and transparency we are demanding as Kenyans, each Kenyan should also be accountable for their own action and that of people closer to them before they go out and say this is wrong in this. Because the reason why MPs are corrupt sometimes is because people, when they go visit them, they want them to be given 10,000 as pocket money and stuff. Where do you think these guys get that money? The money for development, they divert it to give those people, money for CDF, they also divert for such stuff. But if Kenyans become honest and like, I go see my MP, I don't expect them to give me money because that money is for development, and you hold them accountable for every coin, then that is the Kenya that we all want. Thank you.
Hello, can I go next? Hello.
Yes, yeah, we can hear you. We can
We
hear
can
you.
hear you.
Kindly proceed.
Kenya does not need a revolution that is militant or this that does not respect the constitution. That's not what we need. Because the revolution that Kenya needs, and I'm old enough to have been here when I saw the revolution of 1992, 2002, 2005, 2007, 2010, and now I'm here today. Kenya has changed laws, Kenya has changed politicians. That's not our issue. The revolution that we cannot forget is the revolution that has changed what bishops, pastors, priests think of the political class, a revolution that has changed the expectations that we have of our leaders, of our ministers, and of every leader. Many people study the French Revolution. They don't study the French Renaissance. Many people study the origins of the American democracy and the revolution against the British and their civil war against slavery. They don't study when the nation developed a conscience. Kenya today has a conscience, as it did in 2002. Honestly, we need to keep the conscious revolution going. We've got to ask people, you are receiving 10 million in Harambe from someone who receives 10,000. You are spending X billions on going to the Olympics. Who should go and who is earning? Versus the athlete, versus the MCA, versus the minister? These are the questions, and that is the revolution. The revolution that we celebrate today, that even President Ruto himself has used his powers to agree with the people, is not a revolution of politics, it's not a revolution of presidency, it's a revolution of conscience, where we are asking the conscience of our leaders. Why are you showing off? Why are you not accountable? But also at the same time, it's the conscience of the people. People are more informed. They care more about every aspect of leadership. They're holding every leader accountable. Every MP, every CS, every president, and even every governor and MCA. That is the revolution. That revolution is more important than anything else. Because for anyone who belongs to this country of Kenya, rich or poor, black or white, red, Hispanic, Kikuyu, Kamba, whatever, a better Kenya with more conscience in the public to hold the leaders accountable and leaders who want to be accountable to the public with no corruption and a focus on a better Kenya for us all. That revolution we need. It's not a revolution about changing power or sijui upsetting the constitutional order. No, no. We need to build a country that the constitution, even if we make a mistake, the rule of law, the conscience of the public keeps us safe. 2017, 2022, corruption was not an issue on the ballot. Competence was not an issue on the ballot. Now, without a ballot, all of those things matter to us. That is a revolution. A more conscious public, a more caring public. That is the nod President Ruto has given us. We need to maximize on that. And that is not tribal, that is not political, it is good for us all. Let us make sure the dream we have that is not tribal, that is not corrupt, that is not classist, works for every Kenyan.
Mark, final question. We saw former Prime Minister Raila Odinga just, get into this space with William Ruto. And I know that people were saying there was a silent handshake between William Ruto and Raila Odinga. And then later we saw him rescind everything that he had said. So do you think he needs to be part of this? Because I know he's used to dialogue, but we also see Gen Z saying we do not need dialogue at this point. So is he someone who should be involved in this situation that Kenya is currently going through? And then secondly, what role do you think opposition can play? Because now it looks like Kenyans are the main opposition.
Well, first and foremost, this generation Z has introduced new wine scheme to old wine. People looked for political funders for the demonstrations they couldn't find. People looked for tribal base we couldn't find because Eldoret, Bungoma, Mombasa, Wajir, all of them are complaining. So for once we're in a place where the country is not tribal. Gen Z does not have class. They all go to KFC, they all take Uber, they all understand each other, and they all use technology to communicate. What Raila Odinga needs to realize is what that young lady told him, tuachie sisi. He does not have control, not even of his tribal base. This revolution is a revolution of the people. And I'll give every politician free advice. Vox Populi, Vox Dei. The voice of the people is the voice of God. These young people were not coordinated by anyone. President Ruto has finally agreed with these young people. So, no, it's not going to be about ODMs, G wipers, G UDA. No, it's about the right thing. And the problem with us human beings is right and wrong is universal. That's why these young people don't want a dialogue. They're saying there's a constitution, which is right, obey it. But also there's a moral code, which is right, obey it. As soon as our politicians and our leaders and our civil servants and police realize that this is not tribe, it's not politics, it's about right and wrong, then you will understand why Moses Kuria Kikuyu, Murkomen Akalenjin were fired at the same time. Because our president finally gets the message. Our challenge is to make sure that this message that has been received continues to be our reality. Every other question is misplaced. This is new ways. Old dogs, if they don't change, they'll be left behind.
Thank you. Now, for the final take, as we wind up now officially, I know we have the mother of all protests that people are anticipating on July 16th. Do you think this is something that needs to happen, especially now that we've seen the president just make different changes that people have been calling for?
First, demonstrations are exactly what the word says. Demonstrate. Show, in Kenya, we only demonstrate negatively, but we can also demonstrate positively. We can also demonstrate to move our country forward. Demonstrations are not always supposed to be antagonistic. Demonstrations are supposed to be an expression of the will of the people. The tension between the people and the executive, push and pull between what is good, what the people want, what is bad, is actually a good thing. I will not stand here and say the demonstrations are wrong. I will not say that people should not go on the streets, but I will encourage every peaceful protester, every peaceful supporter to come out and actually help the President of the Republic of Kenya not to be beholden to politics, not to be beholden with regional balance, but be beholden to the people of Kenya, which he has used his constitutional rights today to side with the people of Kenya. Expression is not wrong. Violence is wrong. Shooting protesters is wrong. But expression is not wrong. The president today has respected the will of the people. He should continue to do so.
Thank you. So, last comments from every speaker, and I'll start with you, Hassan, and then Fabish, and then Bobby, then Kai Kai, and then finally Mark. Hassan. Okay. I'm not so sure if Hassan is in a position to speak. Fabish, and kindly keep it short so that we wrap it up.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. I want to just echo what Mark finished by saying that every Kenyan now should rally behind the president. In fact, even if you would ask me, I would say that dialogue, is of no use again. President has already heeded to the advice of Kenyans, and this is enough dialogue to do. So going to dialogue with politicians is not holding any water, because politicians, like Azimio and those other politicians, they had a platform to dialogue with the president. They were there. They about the dialogue that happened last year, and I feel that they could have spoken everything. Their parliament, that they were able to dialogue with their counterparts. So, and they also failed. So I think that is just a waste of time. Now we need to give a room for president to implement what we have told him, and what we continue telling him for the betterment of the country. And to answer your question also on about the matter of all demonstration of 16, is that for people to demonstrate, there must be a tone issue. And if now we have a listening president who is ready to listen to Kenyans, and he has already given us that room that is ready to listen. So I think now it is not a matter of demonstration. We just need some few things that we think we need to do. We just write a petition and we give him without even doing much drama of a demonstration. It is now time to give our country a space to breathe, and give a president a time, to gather himself now that his team has been mutilated from him. Now he need also time to re-energize of all this what is happening. We know that he under a lot of pressure. The pressure was increasing. Now it is time for to decrease the pressure from the president and the country. The business fraternity also, now they need time to heal. We know some people have lost a lot of property. Some people, they have been rendered, bankrupt, and now the country needs to heal and go forward. And we have a president that is ready always to listen to us. So it is now time, Kenyans, that let the president do all what have been told by Kenyans, and Kenya is a good country. Thank you.
Thank you, Fabish. Bobby.
Okay, thank you very much. Just to be brief, I would really like the president to consider about the issue on public services. I think they should be improved. We've had experiences with public servants who are extremely rude to the taxpayers. So again, the issue of reduced travelings, you should also look into that. And most importantly, Patriot's Law. That's something that I'll keep campaigning for every now and then, because If we have this law, we'll be able to hold these state officers accountable. If you're involved in corruption, the punishment is death by hanging. We should have it that way. So that these people will actually know it's not about accumulating funds for yourself. Then, lastly, those who have looted, I think the president should really note this. Those state officers who have looted public money, it is not enough to fire them. It is not enough. We need them to be held accountable. We need them to be prosecuted. And we need actually that money to be returned back to the public coffers because that was money raised by Kenyans through taxes. And the KRA should actually come out clean on its records because we can't be hearing stories of revenue deficits. Kenyans actually don't get this information clearly. It should be provided in a manner which even the most uneducated Kenyan can easily understand that this is the current position of the country as we speak. That should not be confidential information. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kai Kai.
Um, Thank you for the conversation and the time. For me, my parting shot is just that a better Kenya is for everyone, and that we need to keep on pushing for accountability, transparency from the lowest cadre of leadership to the highest. And that is the only way to get all this inclusion and whatever we're fighting for. Now that we are done with the presidency dealing with these house and cabinets, people should go back to their counties. There's a lot of corruption in county governments. There's a lot of corruption in CDF offices down there. There's a lot of corruption in MCAs, such stuff, because we cannot only develop Kenya from the top, we have to develop it from down up to the top. And yeah, it's time to give the country breathing space. We all support and forward suggestions that will make our country better. As the president said during Twitter space, his phone is open. You guys have his number. You have better suggestion, write it down, send it to him. He might see it and implement it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kai Kai. Mark, your final take.
The most important thing the president has done is that he's agreed with the people. When power agrees with the populace, both power and the populace have a chance to make a better Kenya for us all. This is not the beginning nor the end of the battle. We're changing not only power, we're changing our society. We're changing our churches, we're changing our mosques for the better. Accountability is leadership, and we have a chance to even influence what the president chooses and who he chooses to be a leader moving forward. He's listening. You have his ear. Take advantage. 50% of advisors are gone. There's a 50% space for your voice to be heard. The president is listening. Let's take advantage and make sure the voice of people and the voice of God align so the president has to hear us out. Secondly, 2027, there are elections, barring any death of any leader. The same standard we want to hold William Ruto to. Can we hold ourselves to that same standard when we are voting? Can we not be tribal? Can we not be bribed? Because if you are bribed, what authority do you have to stand on to ask for other people not to be bribed? This is your chance. We're changing Kenya as a people. The opposition agrees with us. The ruling party agrees with us. Even preachers have changed what they're doing to agree with us. We have an awesome opportunity to have a revolution of conscience, to change what we think, feel, and want for our country. Let's say no to corruption, say no to bad leadership, and hold not just the president, but every leader, including your cattle dip leader, your village elder, and your sub chief and your chief, to a higher standard. If we do that, it will not take 2 years for us to reap the benefits of a better Kenya.
Thank you so much, Mark. And to all the speakers, thank you, thank you, thank you for such a wholesome conversation and for your insights. And to you who's been here since 8 p.m., thank you also for just availing your time to be here and just be part of this conversation. Remember to keep it tuko.co.ke for more breaking news. We've done a lot of analysis, features, and stories on what is currently happening, whether it is what next for the cabinet that William Ruto is set to pick, or his political moves and all that. So if you also may be interested in that, please pass by tuko.co.ke for more. Other than that, I wish you all an amazing night and a lovely weekend ahead. Thank you so much. I have been your host, Amonde Rocco. I'm an editor at tuko.co.ke. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, and thank you so much.
before the center would no longer hold. But I would not be too overly excited because we have been here before during the Kibaki administration when a similar event happened. And then after a while, the cabinet was reconstituted, and the very same faces that were there before came back. Only a certain wing from the LDP, and in fact, not even all of them were omitted. So this particular time, the jury is still out, but we hope basically the ones that have gone, let them go. We have fresh faces who can come and inject something in the cabinet so that the government can start running seamlessly. So what we've been having has been a comedy of errors. People are even saying this is a club of, convicts. It is only the recent activities by the former DPP and the current one to withdraw charges from them that, kept them going. Otherwise, things were bad. So in summary, I would say it was coming. It was coming. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mark Bichachi, karibu to the forum. I also want to ask you the same question. What do you make of the president's move to sack his cabinet?
Well, thank you for having me. First and foremost, the president has started a journey, and that journey is not just about firing CSs. No, no, no. It's about creating what the conscience of the country has changed to. The country wants accountable people. It wants professional people. It wants service delivery. It wants no corruption, right? So firing the old cabinet has been taken positively by the country, but it's been taken positively not as an end unto itself, but an expectation from the country and from everyone who's even watching this country that the president from now on will appoint competent people, will appoint servant leaders, and will begin to deal with the corruption. But beyond that, to the softer issues, the people expect more respectable CSs, leaders that we can look up to, leaders that we can respect, and leaders whose intellect we can relate with. Not regional balance, not political balance, what the country is crying for and what the president has promised to do by saying it's a broad based approach is not back to Raila handshake with Uhuru, not back to political parties, but to competence, respect to the rule of law, and an end to corruption. That is what the president has started. It is not the end of the journey.
Okay, thank you. Kaikai, we've seen polls where some of the CSs were credited as the most hardworking or the most performing CSs, and not all of them were quite doing badly. So, in your own opinion, do you think the president had to fire them all?
Thank you very much. Yeah, the situation demanded remember when they were early this year, was it March? Yeah, when they were in Naivasha retreat for progress of ministerial performance. And even the president was so sad when he made that speech when he was in Naivasha. And he was like, you guys don't even have enough information in the ministry that you're leading. Yet you are the head of the ministry. I have more information than you. I know what is happening in the ground than you. So actually, this is a favor that has been done to the president to take that burden off his shoulder, because he has been calling upon them like to show the work they are being appointed to do. But most of them, what they have been doing is showing up on media houses, doing PR and not doing the real work. So at this point, he wouldn't have said a few who are working should remain, actually, because if he does that, it would have been now, we are in Kenya, and the reality is it will become tribal. They'll say, oh, why didn't you not fire so and so? You fired so and so. But now, since he has done uniformly, there is not that tribal issue that some region will regroup and say, oh, our people were fired, yet these people were not. So for me, this is the most important thing, because it has been for the last 19 months, the president has really struggled to explain the vision to Kenyans, yet he has people he has employed, the cabinet, to explain what ministries should do. But they don't communicate enough to Kenyans what they are doing, the projects they are doing. It's the president to do his job as a president and again to do his job as a minister. That's not fair for any human being. Like, it stresses him a lot. So I believe that this is the best decision, and actually that much he would have just fired them that much when he realized, like, you guys don't know anything about the dockets you are leading, and yet you're supposed to give me briefings. You're supposed to help me achieve the vision I have for Kenya.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kai Kai. Edwin, why do you think the president spared Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi? Because I know there are lots of Kenyans who view his position as unconstitutional.
Musalia's position, I would say, is not unconstitutional. You know, the executive can make those executive orders, and I mean, he's free to run the executive government arm of government in the manner he deems fit. And even according to the principle of separation of powers between the executive, judiciary, and legislature, that one is understood. And that's why you might not see anybody going to court to try and challenge the position of prime cabinet secretary. That is the preserve of the executive. So that if anybody has an issue with that, they wait for the next general election. You vote for another government which will now maybe do away with that position. But aside from that, of all the cabinet secretaries who are there before today's event, Musalia Mudavadi, as much as I might not like to admit it, has been like the most sober of the lot, the most reserved, cautious and calculating. And you can even see all this, I mean, the visit the president has been making abroad. I mean, there's some clout that has come with this guy being in that position, which was not there with the previous occupant. What was he? That would be the former governor of Machakos.
Alfred Mutua.
Yeah, Dr. Alfred Mutua. So it is very important for him to remain there. I have noticed the AG is gone. Basically, wasn't doing anything. So for Musalia, yeah, there's something substantive he's been doing. And currently, as we speak, he's actively engaged in this campaign of trying to whip the African continent to back Kenya's candidature of the AU chairperson. So sacking him would come with consequences unintended. So that's my reason of why he has been
Can I
retained.
comment on that issue?
Yes. I wanted to bring it in if you share the same sentiments with him.
No, mine is slightly different. It's not opposed, but it's slightly different. Can I go
Carry
ahead?
on.
People need to understand that the president has done a very significant thing where he's fired his entire cabinet. But there is an issue of continuity. Now, what is continuity? It means that there needs to be a structure upon which he can continue to administrate the country. The role of Prime CS was not realized or conceived by William Ruto. No, it was not. It was conceived under Uhuru Kenyatta's regime, and we remember we used to call Matiang'i Super CS. And when the country and people came up with BBI 1 and 2, we realized that it is not enough to have the president have to deal with the role of state and government. They also needed help, which is why Matiang'i and many people have even asked for him to come back. It's not just the fact that he needed to come back, it's because for us to be able to realize the realities of this constitution and the push that we have, especially after we separated cabinet from parliament. The role of a prime CS has been quite important. And I am one of those people who has been a proponent of it since BBI, and I'm still going to stand by it because this country actually needs to have diverse leadership but also direct access to parliament from the cabinet. Now, Uganda and Tanzania do the same thing, as does France, which has just had its elections. Honestly, this country needs a prime cabinet secretary or a prime minister, whatever we call it. The NADCO report came up with the same conclusion, BBI came up with the same conclusion. And if you look at the needs of this country, and especially the connection to have the executive answerable to parliament, we do need a prime minister.
Thank you. I see, and by the way, requested the mic. I don't know if you're in a position to speak. And by the way,
Yeah, thank you very much. Can you
yes, please
hear
keep
me?
it brief. Yes, I can hear you. Are you asking a question or making a comment? Kindly keep it brief.
Yeah. So I do believe, like Mark, that having a prime minister with that prime cabinet secretary is important, generally because we will have sometimes that connection between us and the government, mostly likely to be headed by the same prime cabinet secretary. So I believe we need that person generally to connect us, even the people and the government.
You kind of dropped.
So, am I in? Am I in?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, so I was saying that I can concur with Mark that this government still needs that cabinet minister generally to connect us with the government, the people and the government. So I think Matiang'i worked well and put us on toes generally through the government and the people. And I believe that only that it is unconstitutional, but I think the president should work on it and make it constitution, make it a law. And I think we'll be having a good move on his side.
Thank you. Now, Mark, I wanted to ask, do you foresee a situation where the same cabinet secretaries who are sacked, and I think also the same question Kekai will be able to answer, do you foresee a time where these same people who have been sacked making an entrance again back to different positions in government?
That's a difficult question because cabinet serves at the discretion of the president. However, and unfortunately, the cabinet, as the president said, and the president said that he has evaluated what the cabinet has done, and after giving his scorecard, he decided to fire everyone. Now, to bring anyone back, that person needs to have done a spectacular job. Now, unfortunately, that spectacular job must not only be manifest to the president, it must be manifest to the people. Honestly, looking at what the president has done, I think he would lose credibility if he brought any of them back. Not because all of them have underperformed or all of them have not done what they need to happen, but the president is setting a new chapter and is signing a new social contract with the people. The people today have highly praised him for firing everyone. If he brings anyone back, whether they were good to him and the people didn't see it, or else he will lose the traction that he needs. And that traction is this, that for once, after many press conferences, this is the first press conference where the people are agreeing with the president that he's exercising his power according to the will of the people, and they can see that he wants to set a new trajectory. Now, unfortunately, the people who need to fall on the sword are the people he has fired, good or bad, because what he needs to deliver to the Kenyan people, as per his constitutional mandate, and honestly, as per him actually listening to the people, the president needs a fresh start. If he brings some hangers on from the past, he will have to do a lot of heavy lifting to convince the people that he is actually serious about change. Now, this is unfair because there are over 20 individuals being sacked. But guess what? When you're in cabinet, you have to serve the higher call of the people. And the people have said, Anguka Nayo. Now, these CSS, wameanguka. What this country needs is a fresh start. And the president seems to be very willing to give Kenyans that fresh start. He should continue on that pace.
Thank you. I see Ibrahim wants to speak. I don't know if he wants to make a comment or ask a question, but please keep it brief.
Yeah,
Ibrahim.
yeah, thank you and good evening, everyone. By the way, there's a fellow here should be given the mic, Mohammed Wali. I think he can hear me. He's someone that, first and foremost, I want to say that what the president has done is something amazing. The next problem that we have, we should go back to the counties now. And people like Mohammed Wali should be serving Ruto's government. People who are qualified, who are not incompetent, who are incompetent. And I really appreciate what the president has done today. It is something that I never thought I will do, but basically sacking everyone was the best thing. Kindly, I am just requesting, I'll drop, give Mohammed Wali the mic so that we can see what he can tell us. This is an experienced person that we're talking to. Thank you.
Mohammed, I hope you'll be in a position to honor Ibrahim's request. And it would also be nice to just have you on the panel as well to hear your insights because we consider you one of the experts and also people who bring value to such wholesome conversations. So I hope Kasim is in a position to just request Mohammed. Now, as we wait for Mohammed to join, Kai Kai, the same question Mark Bichachi was responding to.
The question was, do you think there'll be recycling of?
Yes,
I'm
what
sorry to use
happened
that term.
Thailand.
I think Kenya is full of talents, and most Kenyans are very educated, well experienced for that matter, and everyone deserves to get an opportunity to serve our beloved country. But just to be fair enough, there are few leaders who did their best. But then that will be now up to the dialogue that the president said that we'll have multi-sectorial dialogue with youth, political parties, and technocrats, so that they come up with a perfect inclusion team who are intelligent, who are committed to serve Kenya, and who are well experienced on different ministries. Yeah, you could hear when even most media houses went around after the breaking news and asked Kenyans, and they were very straight and they were saying, we want, if you put someone for sports, let them be experienced about sports. If you put someone for attorney general, let them be someone who is available for people, both locally and internationally. A lot of Kenyans are suffering abroad because, attorney general is not well, was not performing his job so well for them, stuff like that. So I believe that if one or two are returned who are doing the right job, there won't be an issue. But I also have a strong belief that the multi-sectorial will come up with the best names and best people, and they will serve Kenya and help the president achieve the great vision he has for Kenya. Yeah, that is my belief.
Thank you. Mohammed Olie, thank you so much, sir, for agreeing to be a speaker. Now, I have a question, and I'll take it back to where we started. We've seen what the president has done, and it looks like he's been listening to what Gen Zs and millennials are saying. But then when you look at some of the comments that people are sharing on social media, you hear some of them saying, like there's just something that they're not getting right. Maybe the president is ni kama anataka kuwafunga macho, quote unquote. So I just want to know from, like, do you think the president is genuinely listening and, making these changes based on what people want, or there's some political ploy behind the scenes?
Well, thank you very much. I think first I like to categorically state that I'm a person who actually uh, deliberately avoids government. So I have never applied, nor do I intend to serve in government. So thank you very much for the compliments, the young man who spoke. But I don't think I want to subject myself to being to have my watch and shirt and belts valued by people like my friend Fadili, who basically invited me to this space, and who is an expert valuer of shoes and everything that is expensive. On a serious note, now, I think this was coming. I don't think it's something that surprised us. At some stage, I think any normal president would have changed at least half of these guys. If you go to my Twitter feed, I think about a year ago, after giving them one full year, I tweeted that the entire cabinet is incompetent, and basically I even say that President Moi had, better quality in terms of cabinet. For those of us who are old enough to remember, we will remember people like, Professor Njuguna, Professor Karanja, Njuguna Karanja, that is. Um, Josephat Njuguna Karanja, that was the right name. We had people like Professor Saitoti, we had guys like, just name them. I think we had quality. Moi, we called him a dictator, but he had a very, very serious, competent guys sometimes. Of course, they had to sing songs and do everything else, but those are very, very bright people. I think what the president did when he came into office is he converted his campaign team into his government. And that's a very, very dangerous thing to do. The people who are normally very good in campaigning and getting you into office are not necessarily the same people who can run your government. There is a guy, I don't know if you guys follow American politics, there's a guy called David Axelrod. And someone asked him once why he's an expert strategist when it comes to campaigns, but he never wants to serve in government. And he said the two are different. Winning an election is easy. I mean, you can go to podiums, you can tell, also you can promise all sorts of things, even knowing that you are not going to deliver them. But governing is a different thing altogether. I think what the president did today was very good. It was needed, and under normal circumstances, if you lose a finance bill like that, or the president returns it, it brings it brings a lot of questions to the government itself. So a lot of people would normally even resign, but it never happens in our country. So I think it is a confidence, you know, issue, and I think there was almost a lack of confidence in that cabinet. So the president had to do that in order to regain the confidence of the people. Remember, the problem William Ruto suffers from is that he campaigned unlike any other president. We've had many elections since 1992, multi-party elections, And what used to happen is that our elections were more of, tribal. And presidents will come in, their tribes will elect them, life goes on, and people don't care what happened. But to a certain extent, this administration boasts basically about having campaigned on issues. So they came on issues, and people are now holding them to those issues. So they're being held to account because somehow, I think for the first time in our elections and campaigns, 2022 was slightly different. So I think it is. I particularly did not support this government. Everybody probably on this space knows who I supported and whom I campaigned for, and that's no secret. But it was never going to be easy. It doesn't matter who came into office. And now, what we have is we have a government. Whoever comes into government, even the next cabinet, is going to have it very, very rough. That's one thing Kenyans need to understand. We are in a very, very difficult position. The rejection of the finance bill, it wasn't good for people as people rejected it because that's ultimately what is important. But what is going to happen is that's going to create a very, very, very bad financial position. We've been downgraded already. I don't think we can go back to the Eurobond market. So international debt is going to be difficult to source it. Domestic debt is also going to be an issue. So the president had to reboot. That's the only thing I could say. And then maybe come up with guys who would have a different idea and different way of doing things. But having the same guys in was never going to be a viable thing for him. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Lydia, do you have a question or a comment?
Oh, hi. Thanks. Perhaps for me, I think the next point to stay on topic. After this sacking, I think the next thing is my biggest issue is the debt we have. I think it's very opaque. I'm one of those people who keep commenting about the fact that we need to audit our debt. We need to know since 2012, 2013, all the money we have borrowed, where has it gone? How has it been used? And the fact that government offices seem to have so many accounts and not really following what is in. There's a whole chapter in our constitution about and debt, financing the government and debt management, and the fact that we should be having one account. I don't think that is being followed. I feel like we have too many split interests and a lot of wheeler dealing going on. So I feel like that needs to be one of the main priorities because I feel like that is going to either reduce our debts or we hold some people accountable and maybe not even pay some of these debts which are on the books that may have gone to personal accounts. After that, I feel like we also need to check on the revenue. Like, I don't understand how we can have, like we have budget estimates, but we don't have revenue estimates. Like, where does our money come from? Then we have so many government agencies. Do we know how much these agencies collect on an annual basis? And 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 where that money goes? Do we do we pay salaries? Like, the salaries are budgeted, all the civil servant salaries coming from KRA revenues or from this agency organization? Like, how does that even work? So I feel like it's very opaque the way we operate our finances. So for me, that should be a really huge priority for us as a nation. Thank you.
I see Mohammed and Mark Buchachi have also raised their hands. Please let's keep it short so that we also move to the other questions.
Sorry,
Mark.
I just wanted to talk about what the question or the issues raised by Lydia. I think this issue of debt audit is overrated. You know, the debt register is public. That's number one. Number two, I don't think any audit of that will tell you anything. The register basically tells you who you borrowed from, how much, and at what, on what terms. So a lot of people have raised this, point, and I think even the government itself got excited and said we're going to audit the debt register. There's nothing you are going to find in the register. Normally, what happens is I work in a central bank. It's very, very difficult for you to steal, money from people you're borrowing from. Basically, what those people normally make sure is that, for example, if it is a foreign currency debt, they will deposit that foreign currency deposit in the central bank account. Or, the government of Kenya has an account with the central bank. So people used to talk about the issue of the first Eurobond, for example. The money would be deposited in the account of the Central Bank of Kenya in the Federal Reserve of New York. No one else can have an account there. You can't have a personal account. Uhuru can't have an account. Whoever was a minister cannot have an account. The money goes in there. And what happens is the money is moved into, so the money moves into GOK because it belongs to the government of Kenya, and the central bank is basically the banker for the government of Kenya. The dollar is taken by the central bank, and the Kenyan shilling equivalent is given to the government. Now, ladies asked, where's this money gone to? If we have borrowed and money is missing, the only way it gets stolen is through projects. So basically, once it hits the exchequer, it's given to different ministries MDAs. Then from there, it's when all the shenanigans and all the dirty work happens. This issue of saying I'll go and I'll go and audit the register, you will find it very, very clean. Money comes in, whatever currency it is, it goes to CBK. CBK takes over the foreign currency, gives Kenyan shilling to the government. The government then says, okay, I received $3 billion in Kenyan shilling equivalent, 300 billion shillings. I'm going to give 20 billion to the NYS, devolution. It goes to NYS, it's carried in sacks. The other one goes to Ministry of Health, stolen through KEMSA. So if you want to know and audit this, you need to audit the government accounts. And this is done every year. And if you read the Auditor General reports, it's a crime scene. So why are people looking for things in somewhere they will never find? There is nothing wrong with the register, Lydia. All you need to do, if you are very honest and you want to fix this issue of corruption, go back to all the auditor reports. And by the way, the auditor generals, all of them, from the days of Moi, I can't remember his name, but there was a very long serving auditor general. That was the only office that used to defy Moi. It used to produce one of the best reports, even under dictatorship. And the guy used to basically put it as it is. Oko did the same. So if you are a president and you want to act on this issue of theft, you don't need to audit the register. There is nothing you'll find there. Go and audit the government accounts. What happened to the money after it was given to the ministries? And that's where you will find the audit reports very, very useful. So every year we see in headlines 50 billion stolen, 20 billion stolen, 30 billion stolen. Why are you looking for that money in the debt register? I mean, it doesn't make sense. You will find nothing. And that's what I said and tweeted the other day. We will wait for 3 months. we will come back to this space, and that report will just come up with policy recommendations here and there just to make sure that they've done some work. They'll find out nothing because you'll find nothing. There is nothing there. But everything is in the reports of the Auditor General. And if you are serious as a government, just do the last year one, the year before, the last 20 years, you will find trillions of shillings stolen and how it was stolen and who lost it. So I think that's the point I wanted to make as an intervention. Sorry to take time from others.
It's okay. Mark, please keep it short so we move to other questions and then we come back and debunk all these.
So, first and foremost, we must understand between the politicization of issues and the real issues on the ground. Kenya does not necessarily have a debt problem. You only have a debt problem if you have a personal debt. Your debt becomes a problem when your income shrinks beyond your payment per month, per year, or whatever. Kenya is typically doing better than most of Africa. Now, I'm not saying that is a good thing, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but the focus on debt is misplaced. Kenya does not have a debt problem. Kenya has two problems. It has a problem of corruption, and it has a problem of leaders who don't put Kenya first. In the president firing the entirety of his cabinet, he has given himself a fresh start. Legally, constitutionally, he's okay. Now, the question is a moral question and a question of conscience. Now, Mohammed Walia has, as usual, made a very brilliant presentation on the books and how they should be done. My contribution is this. The president is right in firing all of his cabinet. Other than competence, he needs to choose what is morally right, who are people who are morally right, and also needs to choose people who can make the right decision that benefits all the people. Debt is over exaggerated. The real problem with Kenya is corruption. And corruption is reported every day by the media, reported by the Auditor General. It has no consequence. Corruption is more expensive than all the debt this country has had since independence. The president needs to show, and he has the power to do so, and so far by firing everyone has shown the will to do so. So we need to support him in ensuring that corruption does not continue. Debt we can handle. Why can we handle debt? Because this economy has grown. Even in post-election violence, 2007, we grew. As long as we grow, we can pay debt. The issue is not debt. The issue is theft and corruption.
Thank you, Mark. I'd want to rope in Adrian and just to tell Lydia and Abdul to put a pin to the questions or thoughts. We'll be back to that whole conversation because there's a question that will tie back to it. Now, Edwin, Gen Zs have spoken and millennials, and it looks like the president is listening. Do you think maybe the public opinion has started to shift on how they view the president?
I wouldn't necessarily say that public opinion has shifted, but basically, I've tried to understand the president and how he's responded to the Gen Z protests. One, I would say I'm not his supporter from time immemorial, but from what I've observed, it's like he means well. It's maybe the technicalities of statecraft that are not quite easy for anybody to grasp, even if he's been deputy president for over 10 years. Being president is it's a whole new cup of tea. So now these Gen Zs, the problem is this. There's a huge mass of them countrywide, and they are basically leaderless. And that's a very big problem. You see, a certain pocket, maybe from coast, will be saying, we want this, another one, they want this. So you are not harnessing it. So what the president is doing is basically, I would say, a panic reaction because we've never been here before. So it's not like there's a script he could follow saying, if there's such an uprising, this is what you do. It's never happened. So where he is just trying to manage. And I know earlier there's a speaker who said, he's stable constitutionally, what have you. My view has always been that while the constitution might say there is a 5-year term you for the next elections, if somebody has lost the confidence of the populace, you can go even after 1 year. You cannot force yourself to govern people who have said they don't want you there. So you will go. So the issue of saying that because the constitution says ABCD, even the constitution itself, it was made for the Kenyan people. It is not the Kenyan people who are made for the constitution. And that's why maybe it explains how the president is responding to them. But I would say this Gen Z generation, it would be in their best interest to have to get leaders. I don't know how they will go about it, but it is important, and the examples are abound on the importance of that. Like the Niagara Falls that powers New York. Somebody said it was always there even before New York became what it is, and it never produced power until it was harnessed. So this energy that these Gen Z people have, it needs to be harnessed. They need to give us leaders so that we know who to address. You can't be addressing the whole world. This one says this one says this. And maybe if they had leaders now with the reconstitution of the cabinet, there would be somebody to look and expect maybe this Gen Z representative will be in this ministry. So now, do you appoint all these Gen Z people to the cabinet? That's why I was saying we need to be cautious with these developments. We might still end up with the same people who have gone. It's like a session of like cool out, cool down, a moment where the president wants the country to cool. Once the temperatures are down, yeah, these guys come back, business as usual, life goes on. So we need to be very careful with what's happening. That's my take.
Thank you. Ben, do you have a question or a comment? Okay, before Ben. Okay.
Thank you very much. Mine was just maybe a quick reaction, maybe towards Edwin. I would say that the Gen Zs do not really need a leader. This leaderless faction is really creating a big impact. The moment they have leaders, it's going to be hell on earth. They're going to fight those leaders. They're going to use every available means to intimidate them. So for me, that won't be the best way to go. Again, in Kenya, we also need a patriot's law, something that will hold these state officers accountable in case of any corruption case, because we've been seeing sprees of looting in government, and somebody resigns or maybe is fired, and that's the end of it. But this person has gone with billions of Kenyans taxpayer money actually, and we say hiyo ni sawa, amefutwa, hiyo ni sawa. No, it should not end there. We need justice to actually prevail for the country. Again, if you look at our political, our governance system, it is based on rewarding your political friends, not more of professionalism. And that is a cancer that is eating our nation up. The wrong man with the wrong qualifications, like for example, you get somebody with a degree in theology, given a certain important docket, maybe dealing with matters of law or engineering. The person does not have any idea of how to run actually that place, and you find that's also another big problem. Again, we have also the issues of the IG, the Inspector General of Police, and his entire command. We have a problem because these people are trained with taxpayers' money, and we don't know actually how they are trained there. And they come back here, they start implementing very funny orders. actually killing the citizens. That's why I'm saying if Gen Zs get a leader, we are going to see actually more abductions taking place. Another issue is on the issue of the counties, the county governance. The county governance in Kenya is very poor. I think we need to set a standard as to what are the qualifications of being a governor or a senator, because what we see happening today, people vote based on this political party is famous. So the person vying for the seat knows I have to buy my degree if I don't have a degree. I won't mention names, but I will mention a certain woman somewhere in Machakos with a degree in IT. And the person literally doesn't know anything about IT. And the person is elected, the person has a degree. I think we need to really work on that. Then, in matters of economics, most of the time, our politicians will talk about revenue allocation. They'll really fight for these budgets, but you'll find none or very few of them talking about revenue regeneration. They normally don't talk about that. They like getting the money, but they actually don't have ways of raising I mean, uh, revenues. And again, the public also. Like I was once involved in a certain thing in Mombasa, and we were validating a policy, and we went through a certain budget of a particular year, and they were actually giving these documents written in very, very small fonts in such a way that you cannot read. Then they expect you to validate. And that is what they do with public participation. They call their friends, they pay them, they validate. Then they say, the people of Mombasa or the people of Nakuru or the people of this place and this place have said, yes, they have agreed. And that is a cancer that is actually killing our economy, and it is time that we need to rise up to it. On the issues of regions, because we've had a conversation whereby there's a proposal of having a reduction of the county governments, which should be actually effected, because we have to ask ourselves, what is the regional power? I mean, the economic power of the coastal region, the Rift Valley region, the northeastern region. If we think in that direction, it will be very easy to empower these particular regions and, if possible, have them constituted as counties. Because Kenya has too many counties, and some are actually irrelevant. People are just there to earn money and to waste public funds. Finally, I'll also submit that the president should also look into the matter of nominated senators, nominated MCAs, the issues of women rep. I know there is a rule in parliament about the two-thirds gender rule, but will it actually bring any impacts? Because we've seen nominated senators like Gloria are very, yani she actually betrayed Kenyans outrightly, and she doesn't care. They are talking in a manner which is very rude and very heartbreaking for the voter who actually pays taxes for them. So all these offices, they need to be looked up to, and also without forgetting the office of the prime cabinet secretary. Like, what is the role of this guy? How has he actually contributed to the growth of Kenya? We actually don't need that office. We need serious people, we need professionals in office, and not just people who are being awarded because of maybe having political affiliations. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Abdi, please keep it short.
Thanks. I'll keep it short. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, please.
Perfect. Thank you. I was gonna say one thing. I think I'm gonna be a little bit optimistic. I think the president means well. He's listening. I think we are in the right direction. I think he had the worst cabinet ever. But my only two things is one, the way forward. I think we have to be very careful the folks that he appoints. I think that is going to be telling a story of where we're headed as a country. That's very important. There's an individual that talked that we don't have a debt problem, but I think one major problem we have in Kenya is also spending problem. We're paying a lot of salaries, a lot of allowances, a lot of wastage. I think if we take care of that, that will be a huge, huge saving. One personal note: I am in the diaspora, and 4 weeks ago, we had a meeting with one of the European countries that we're trying to move, and we were invited by a certain government to present our business case and move the business there, and they were giving us favorable tax ratings. And my question to them after the meeting was, "Why are you doing this?" And the answer from those tax authorities was, "We're looking at the job opportunities that you're creating." Uh, I have a question for Mohammed. I think Mohammed really is in the speaker form. I always hear the president mentioning about taking people to Saudi. Those are menial jobs. I think what improves an economy is manufacturing. If you have a booming manufacturing, then your economy is going to grow. A question to Mohammed: where did we go wrong in Kenya in terms of trying to attract companies that actually manufacture, that improve our tax, increase our tax base, but also increase our earning revenue in terms of dollars? Just to add, lastly, I think we need to be optimistic, but I'm looking forward to the next step in terms of who are the folks that are going to be appointed for that position that will tell us where we head as a country. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Abdi. And Mohammed, before you answer his question, let me also ask the question that I want us to look at so that when you speak, you can also get back to Abdi. And this question maybe should be to Elie and Mark before I bring in Kai. Edwin has mentioned something about Gen Zs having a representative. And then I also had Ben talk about that we should ensure that even the people who the president brings on board are people who are credible and authentic. So, do we foresee a possibility where the president will get someone who's a Gen Z in ministry? Because now we've seen people say we also want the young people, we do not want the same leaders who have been there since time immemorial taking up these positions. And then, if not Gen Zs, how do we go about appointing these people? Because I know there's a way that this has to be done constitutionally, but we also have people's voices now overshadowing that. So, how does the president move forward?
Thank you very much. Let me first answer the two questions asked by Abdi. Let's start with the question of labor and export of human capital. A lot of people are making a lot of noise about this, and yet it is a natural thing to do. Human capital is just like any other asset that a country has. We have a lot of very educated people, which our market is not able to absorb. So we have skilled people. The reason why people outside need this service is because they don't have it. So we have something that these people don't have it, and we have it in large numbers. So if you look at countries like India, if you look at countries like Philippines, these countries many years ago discovered that they are not able to absorb all the labor that they produce. So in Philippines, for example, as soon as you reach 18, the way we give IDs to people, they actually give passports. They tell you, if you find opportunities outside, go. They have a huge ministry, they have a process, they have a mechanism to do it. I've worked in Saudi Arabia for a long time now. We are almost over 100,000 Kenyans in the city of Riyadh and the surrounding areas. If you look at the vets, for example, almost all the vets, the veterinary officers, are from Upper Kabete, Kenya. And it's a whole industry. If you look at the agriculture industry, mostly it's done by Kenyans. So now many people, of course, the headline is always taken by domestic workers. You have an issue with one or two or three people. Of course, the employers will mistreat people, and it also happens back at home. Now, these girls, I think there are about 60 or 70,000 of them in the kingdom. People have used very bad words like slavery, blah, 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 blah. I think it's just the bad things that always go to the media. But a lot of them earn around, 50 or 40,000 Kenya shillings. They're given somewhere to sleep. They save all that money. They are basically helping family back at home. If you cannot give these people jobs, you can't then ask them not to go outside. And labor, export of labor is a natural thing. I mean, India have what is called the NRIs, the non-resident Indians. Everywhere in the world you go to, you will find professional Indians. If you go to the Gulf, you'll see manual labor, hotels, everywhere. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's just one product, one service that Kenya provides to where there's shortage of this labor. So there's nothing wrong with it. There should be no negative connotations to this. Now, you talked about manufacturing. Manufacturing is expensive in Kenya because of a number of reasons, and one of them is power. If you go to Ethiopia, for example, I think it's about 25 cents for a kilowatt. If you are someone who wants to produce something, you need to have cheap power. You need to have cheap labor. You need to have good tax policies. You need to have so many things to come together. The government has tried in the past, the previous government, including the Uhuru administration, to try and come up with very good policies that are attractive to investors to come and do manufacturing in Kenya, because he had the big four, they did everything. But one thing they could not crack at all is power. Power is very expensive because it was given to independent producers. They have signed very long contracts. They have spent a lot of money to do those power. They spent a lot of money to do that setup of the power they provide. Then they decided to recoup everything in a very short period. So, irrespective of how much power you produce, we're one of the few countries that produces a lot of power. We have more power than we need sometimes, but it's still expensive because there are independent power providers that we have to pay, and we have to pay them over a short period. And so there's nothing literally any government can do because they have signed contracts. And those contracts were done in bad faith. There are people who took money. Again, we go back to the issue of corruption. So just Abdi, to cut short, you have to factor in corruption as a cost to your business. And a lot of businesses are doing now. So when they're actually budgeting, they actually have to see corruption as a cost. And that's very unfortunate. So if you look at all our problems, the attendance problems that we have, ultimately, you will go and zero into corruption. Coming to the question of sorry, I forgot. Can you ask me the last question?
So, Adrian had mentioned that Gen Zs need to have a leader.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah. Gen Zs. Now, we don't care how old a person is. We want competent people. Okay. I don't think it's fair to put someone in cabinet or in government simply because they're 21 or 20 years old. I think it doesn't go like that. And by the way, there are a lot of youth guys who have been given opportunities because they're youth, and they've let us down. I mean, if you look at Parliament, a lot of the guys who are voting for the wrong things, who are basically saying the wrong things, are very young. Some of the senators, very young. The cabinet has got, guys who are 30 to 40 years old. and they're no better when it comes to corruption. So it's not about how old a person is. So there is no any correlation. Anybody who has done research and said there is a correlation between bad governance or corruption and age. So if Gen Z, if he's a very good guy, I mean, there are guys who are 30 years old, who are PSs in whose government, and they had issues. There are guys who are in our cabinet. There are guys who are in Senate. The guys who are in parliament. All of them. They're saying the wrong things. They're doing the wrong things. So I don't think it's about age. But if the president wants to hire young and competent people, so those you can't take away the competence part. If they're competent, if they are ready to serve, if they're going to bring change, I think why not? So it's and who is, by the way, again, the question is who. I have a very big problem with this issue of saying we are leaderless. I mean, if you want to demand for change, and if you want to bring real change, ultimately, you have to go to the ballot and do it there. So you have to identify people, MPs, governors, you have to come up with a political party. You have to go and tell and sell your ideas to the people like any other party as Gen Zs, and then get elected and change whatever you want to change. You can say, we are faceless, we are armorless, we are leaderless. We are going to sit back. A president comes in, he does all the wrong things, we go to the streets. There is another policy that comes, we do the same thing again. It's not a viable thing, it's not sustainable. So the best way Gen Zs can change this country is you come up with a political outfit, go to the ballot, all of you vote for you guys. You don't have to win the presidency, you don't have to win government. You can have enough people to influence policy, have enough people in parliament, have enough people in senate, have enough people. If you win, and I mean there is a revolution at the ballot, it's even better. But this thing of saying we are faceless, we are leaderless, we don't want to talk, we don't want dialogue. So what? Then what's going to happen? That's a recipe for anarchy. Because basically what you're saying is we just this amorphous organization or group of people in social media, and we will just wait for government to do the wrong things and will come in at that particular time. So I don't think that is something that is sustainable in my view. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark. Still on the same question, and also how do we move forward? Because I know there's a way the Constitution allows for cabinet secretaries to be appointed. But now we have this catch 22 where people also want a specific thing, but then there's no one who is actually going to be, the leader and say, okay, now this is how we're going to move forward. We're going to dialogue the president. So how does the president move forward in this?
Uh, First, I know Gen Z say they're leaderless, and I agree that they are leaderless, but they're not rudderless. And I'm splitting hairs, but let me explain what I mean. What the Gen Z has managed to do is be democratic, but not through the ballot, but through social media. They have managed to get information out, make decisions as a collective, and then move that forward. This is exactly the same thing that happens by the ballot for the people in Switzerland, because the Swiss have referenda, 7, 8 of them every year, where every citizen is not listening to parliament, is not listening to the revolving presidency. They're making decisions together. What Gen Z has done, and I know they say they're leaderless, I agree. They say they're tribeless, I agree. But what they have demonstrated to this country is the power of the democratization of technology. They have reduced decision-making power to a mobile phone and the ability to access a space, whether it's a X space, whether it is a conversation on Facebook. They have begun to democratize the political decisions this country needs to make. So they're not leaderless. They are leading themselves through a technological democratic space. And we must thank them because what they've done is they've removed, both from politics and even the presidency, the encumberment of tribe, the encumberment of political debts, and the encumberment of any leader having to pay political debts by giving people position. And they've come back and said that they want competence. So they don't care whether it is a Somalia, Turkana, Bajoni, whichever small tribe you want to call, they don't care about it. What they want is competence, accountability, and no corruption. Paul said, against virtue, there is no law. By that, he meant that if you're truthful, you're honest, you're loving, you're caring, and you actually lead your people with a conscience, there is no constitution that can rule over virtue. What Gen Z is asking for. And that's why I don't think they need a political party, because it's no longer Gen Z. I've seen every Kenyan I've met cry for and hunger for change. In what the president has done by firing everybody, he has given himself a chance socially to start again. What is the start? No corruption, no braggadocio experiences, and no opaque leadership. People want transparency. That transparency, regardless of tribe, shall be upheld by nearly every Kenyan, other than those who profit from corruption, from opaqueness, and from lies. The president today has started and agreed with the revolution of 25th June 2024. The reason why the protests did not stop is because the protests took a new meaning. These young people want a new Kenya. They want a corrupt-free Kenya. They want leaders who are accountable. And I'm so proud of them. And I'm so proud that the president has listened to them. That they told the CS of sports who's going, how much are you spending, and is it accountable in the sense that it is a net gain for the country. That is what many analysts like myself have fought for many years. What is the next stage? The next stage is not a political party. If we focus on politics, we will lose it. The next stage is to hold the president, the nation, every governor, every MP, every leader, and even the elder at your local cattle dip to the standard of chapter 6, which is what? The young people have spoken a greater sermon than many bishops, taught us politics better than many political practitioners. The message is, you better do good for the country than lift your hands to God or put your hands into the public coffers. That's it. If Kenyans stop stealing, our leaders stop stealing, and Kenyans remain active in the questions of how much is being spent for what and what are we getting, and hold our leaders to be accountable to us so that they become our servants, not the people who push us off the roads. And by the way, the fact that no one has overlapped in the last 2 weeks is a sign. It's not just about the road, it's about a better Kenya for everyone. So that con people who earn more per month than MPs, will not quit their jobs to go become MPs because being a politician is a financial decision. President Ruto has a unique chance, a chance that Mwai Kibaki had. And he said it in his speech. The biggest enemy of Kenya is corruption and leaders who don't care for their people. It is not just a matter of competence. Competence is 100% okay, but it's a matter of virtue, fighting corruption, and deciding to be a servant, not a boss. That's as far as leaders is concerned. Now let me speak to the voters. It is time that we chose MPs, MCAs, cattle leap chairmen, chama chairmen, or women who actually want to serve, not to lead, not to lord it over people, and not take their positions to steal. Something significant happened today. Tattoo city ownership exposed the political class for extorting them. That is a privilege they enjoy because of the Gen Z revolution. And that privilege is what the President of the Republic of Kenya has recognized. Now we need to make sure that it is not about Mandamano, because Mandamano has changed. It's not about robbery anymore. We are peaceful, but it is about making sure that there is positive tension between the executive, judiciary, parliament, and the people to hold each other accountable. That's positive tension. That we want you to do better. We want you to want better. We want you to have a heart that is better. Finally, we need to make a statement to this country that if you want to be a billionaire, imagine we're a capital country, go into business. But if you want to serve, go into politics and go into the NGO space to serve people. None of these things are supposed to make anyone wealthy. If you want to be wealthy, join Elon Musk. Politics can no longer be an economic decision. It needs to be a service, caring, accountable decision, which is why every public and state official needs to have his number public so that you remain accountable to the people who you're not the boss of, to who you're the servant of. The president today has started a journey. We need to work with him. We need to work with Gen Z to deliver what our collective dreams are.
Thank you.
Sorry, I have a question. I have to go soon, so I want to ask a question to Mark. I think it was Mark who was speaking because I can see Edwin also has his mic on and also Lydia. So it's very hard to tell who is speaking when everybody's mic is
It's
turned
Mark
on.
Mark
was
was
speaking.
speaking.
Yeah,
Mark was
it's Mark.
speaking.
Okay. I have a question for you, Mark. I know you talked about not having leaders and being leaderless and digital oversight. You basically given very, very good points. I don't disagree with that. There's something called accountability. My question to you is, what Gen Zs are fighting is dictatorship, people making decisions and the uta-do attitude. This is what has gotten us to where we are today. People lording it over others and saying, okay, you must do this. If you don't, I don't know. I can still go ahead and do it anyway. I will basically buy parliament. I will buy judiciary. Everything becomes one. Now, my question to you is, what would stop? How do you, what governance measures would you have in place to stop the same overload and kiburi and utadu attitude coming from this leaderless, faceless, technology survey young people? So tomorrow they'll decide, we don't want this. Another finance bill will come. Because this country has to have a finance bill. It is not the first finance bill we had. A lot of people even don't know that. They think finance bill is something that was, brought by Ruto. It's not. So this country will have to finance its activities. We have to pay the debts, no matter who took them. Now, what will stop people, Gen Zs, kutuma salamu to everybody and anything that they don't like? So how is this country going to be governed if you don't have people who take responsibilities? Political parties. I'm a member of ODM. I am proud to say that. And I have been ever since I took a card. If something goes wrong or they say something which I don't like, or basically they take a position or they do something wrong, people know that it is that political party that is causing us problems. It is Jubilee that does this. It is the head of Jubilee that. Now, how are we going to stop people then coming to space like this and saying, tomorrow we go to the streets, guys, because we don't like Mark, for example. Wacha tumtumie salamu. So just tell me how this is going to work.
Bro, first and foremost, I really respect your freedom of thought. It's an amazing thing to watch. I've been a fan of yours since I was at Export Promotion. You got no idea. But let me put it in perspective, right? I was once asked, what is the biggest risk that government faces? And I said that this government has swallowed so much that they will have a stomachache. Now, you see, when you're eating, you can see your vegetables, your meats, your carbohydrates. But if you eat too much, you don't know which one will cause your stomach upset. Now, this stomach upset has been caused not by only this government. This has been 20 years in the making, where young people have not been involved in the political discourse of this country. They are not leaderless. They say they're leaderless. They think a leader is an individual. But what they've done using technology, whether it's X, whether it's different apps they're using, they have made decisions collectively. What needs to happen in this country, and it needs to happen soon, is two things. Number one, money needs to stop being one of the principal reasons that politics happens. Two, tribe needs to stop being one of the principal decisions as to who is governor, MP, senator, needs to stop. But most importantly, and what these young people have done, whether using AI, whether using Telegram, X, whatever, is they have started informing each other. What we need is an informed electorate. That informed electorate, by the way, is the one that went to the streets and said they were peaceful. That electorate, by the way, is the one that has convinced the president that he needs a new cabinet. So I'm not particularly scared of Gen Z. I'm not. Reason being that when I look at the French, I look at the British, I look at the Americans, they have allowed their population to have the freedom of voice. That freedom is not something to be scared of. We need to start a new culture in this country that we're not as scared of demonstrations. Across the world, the Greens who want
Sorry to interrupt you, Mark. I don't think you're answering my question, Mark. I know the Western world, they have a process, they have a democratic process. If people don't like what a party is doing, they get rid of them, like the conservatives were chased away and lost with the biggest margin after 45 years. That's clear, that is fine. I'm asking you a very
yes.
simple question. Who is going to watch the watchers? Who is going to oversight Gen Z so that they don't become a dictator? Just like the dictatorship they saw, they fight. They fight.
I agree with you,
Well,
Mohammed. I have not answered your question.
I hear you, but that's a valid question, right? Listen, the Gen Z were united against a bill, against a cabinet and a presidency that were against. The reason why I don't think they'll develop into a dictatorship, and I may be wrong, but I'm very sure of this, the fact that they keep informing themselves and acting democratically. That's why I say the democratization of their decisions. What they do is they get into spaces and they make decisions together. It is very difficult to become a dictator when you have to convince everyone for every move you're making. But this movement is hardly a month old. Definitely it will crystallize. Definitely they will need leadership. Definitely some of them will go into the NGO space, into activism. Some will get into the political space. Others will get into the religious space. What they are doing now is setting the stage for a revolution. Now let us remind ourselves. In 1992, we had clergymen on the streets, we had politicians on the streets, we had activists on the streets. They've all become different people. Whether you want to count Martha Karua, you want to count Orengo, you want to count Raila, whoever you want to count, they all changed over time. This revolution is hardly out of the ground. And the best thing about this revolution is that it is democratic, which means it has a space to disagree, it has a space to agree, and that's exactly what we need to push them towards. Because their division and their agreement is not based on tribe, it's not based on class, it is based on ideas. This is something that even the older class needs to accept. Division by ideas is coming, and that's a good thing. So I'm not afraid of them being dictators.
Okay.
I think, Mark, just to reiterate what Mohammed was asking, should Gen Zs have a leader? Because I feel like you've gone around that question.
Now, I've said Gen Zs don't have a leader because they've democratized their decisions. So let me explain what that means. What they've done is on social media and wherever space they have, whether by likes, by dislikes, they make corporate decisions. If you want to understand what I'm saying, check out what Switzerland does. They have referenda where all the people need to make choices. Now, these young people are making choices using social media. So they don't need a leader. They vote for ideas. Whoever has a good idea wants to hold a concert on Sunday, they vote for it and they show up with their feet. That's who their leader is. They're not following people anymore. They're following ideas. So if you have a good idea, that's their leader for that moment.
Okay, so how do we reconcile that with the Constitution of Kenya? Because there's a decorum that needs to be followed. And like Mohammed was saying, what will stop what would stop a group of people going to the streets tomorrow? Let's say Ruto appointed someone new who they feel like isn't worth the position.
Let them go to the street. It's constitutional. Whether it's 2 people, it's 20 people. What needs to happen in this country is everyone needs a voice, and we need a way of weighting what each voice is. As long as they're peaceful, they're not robbing people. Even one person who thinks that the constitution of Kenya needs to be dedicated to one God has the right to picket. That picketing needs to be noted, appreciated, and accepted.
Okay. Thank you. Maria,
Yes.
welcome to the forum.
Thank you, Lily.
Okay, carry on. Do you have a comment or a question?
Yes, I have a comment. I first of all want to agree 100% with Mark, and I can sort of see where Mohammed is coming from, but it's really nothing new or something to be afraid of. What these kids or Gen Z have done is basically taken the constitution and tested it, and it has worked. And they had a very good platform, which is technology, and that has made everything possible. Before in Kenya, for you to mobilize a crowd to show up, you needed money. You needed to have money, you needed to have to carry some sort of weight, and that comes with its own hazards. So if you're trying to organize people and you have to use money, then you'll have to find that money one way or the other, which then creates a ripple effect across our politics. But back to the question of what next after cabinet sacking, um, and this is of course in the background of the Gen Z protests. One, we need to address the fact that even as we're saying that there's been success with the protests, the Gen Zs themselves have been profiled in as much as they're leaderless. There are those who have been identified and profiled, and as we speak, are either in cells or are going to face prosecution over very trumped up charges because of trying to suppress the Gen Z movement. And the fact of the matter is, the credit goes to them, but they're also suffering. They've been killed, they've been disappeared, and they
I'm
still.
not hearing anything. Is everyone the same, or am I the only one?
No, we can hear. We can hear.
We can
We
hear
can
you.
hear. Maria, you can proceed. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So these young people have also suffered the
Sorry,
brunt
I'm
of
not
a.
hearing what's going on.
Um,
Mohammed, Maria is speaking.
Mohammed, I'm on. I don't know if you can hear me.
Unfortunately, I can hear you, but I can't hear the speaker. So maybe it's my problem.
Okay, maybe try and log back in. So I hope I've not lost my train of thought. I was just saying that the Gen Z protests have crystallized. Like Mark had said.
Sorry, guys, I have an appointment at 10 o'clock and I need to drive fast. So can I be excused and leave, please?
It's okay, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Very good discussion, and I think it is useful. I wish you the best.
Thank you. And all the best as well. Maria.
Yeah. So I was saying that what we went through in terms of multi-party democracy, the 90s, took it took decades, it took years to achieve what these young people have been able to achieve within. It's not even been a month. So that you have to give them a lot of kudos for that. As far as what happens next after the cabinet sacking, first of all, I see that the president has gotten a lot of positive feedback. I think he's bought himself goodwill with the public and time, primarily because people feel that they've been listened to. And if you look at the social media posts or the vox pop on television, um, everybody is reacting one way or the other, and it has given him breathing room to be able to deal with the next steps.
One, if you look at the recent meeting that the president had with Baba and the opposition, quote unquote the opposition, what was in the offing looked like a government of national unity. And in the backdrop of that meeting, then the cabinet sacking has happened. If you look at the MPs in parliament, and I want us to focus on parliament, which I think is the weak link, because parliament is the oversight arm of government, or of the state, if you like. Now, what has happened to get us to where we are is that Parliament forced through the finance bill, despite getting feedback from the people that this thing was bad. And they pushed and pushed and pushed until breaking point, and all hell broke loose. So the backlash on Parliament has been so bad that they've gone scampering to the hills. Now, before Ruto gets another cabinet, and whoever he proposes, the president proposes, he will have to take those names to parliament. What is likely to happen is that many of those who have suffered the backlash from the public, those are the MPs who voted yes, will not be so enthusiastic to come back and approve. And even if they do, it will not be the gang ho approach that they had and the mtadu and tutapitisha yote. I am a member. In fact, I remember many of them saying they are members of UDA first. They owe no allegiance to the voter. But now the president has left them, Kwamata, and he's now with the voter. So this has really changed a lot of dynamics. But the fact of the matter is that the next battle, which involves the recall of MPs, is that he will have to get cabinet members approved. So that is why it's possible to look at the discussions with the opposition as an opportunity for him to get a cabinet that will be approved by the opposition, if you will. And that also means that we will have faces in cabinet that are not necessarily a UDA party adherents. In fact, it gives more credit even to this uprising that you don't need to belong to a political party going forward to be able to do the right thing or to be on the right side of executing government agenda. So the president has been handed a gift by this crisis that he was facing. I think he was quick on his feet. He sees the moment and has an opportunity now to rearrange. What matters next is the reconstitution of IEBC, and that is really, really important. And it's also very important that you can already see in some parts of the country that recall of MPs is happening methodically. Kabete has been able to push on with the recall. In other places, like where I come from, like Kipia, you can see that young people are being intimidated and arrested by politicians through the police, because people are actually collecting signatures to recall their MP. So it's a very critical time to be alive in this country. I'm really, really proud of the young people who have actually seized the moment. They've taken the baton from us, Gen Xers and Boomers, who were able to push for the enactment of the new constitution, and they're actually testing this living document. And where it's not working as it should be fixed so that it works. And the constitution, and I'm proud to see that the Gen Z are actually adopting provisions of the law. They are not doing things blindly. And this is why I feel that we should support them, because they're actually making very informed decisions. Except, of course, you could see that there are people who are trying to hijack the very careful, well thought out process. You could see that there are people who are ready to hijack that movement, but it wasn't going to be sustainable. And you have to give credit to where it's due, that this, what is considered leaderless, is not rudderless, to borrow what Mark was saying. I absolutely agree with what they're doing, as long as they keep sticking to the script where their space is democratic, they're looking at the law. I even saw how they created chat GPTs to explain so that they could learn what this bill was about, because let's face it, not many people read these bills. So technology has become the tool that has driven this revolution. I like to think of it as the gensification of Kenyan politics. And really, what's going to happen in the next month or two is going to be very interesting to watch, and the momentum should be allowed to continue.
Thank you so much, Maria, for your submission.
Among you should allow me to sign off. I also need to rush somewhere. Maybe
Yes.
some parting thoughts. Now, I've had.
Edwin, let me ask you your final question, because I know you're legal, and I know Maria is also here, can also help. We've seen people tweet Ruto must go. Do you think that is something that is likely to happen, despite the number of times people would actually want to go to the streets for that?
My brief answer to that is that it will not happen. You see, there's something we call the fierce urgency of now. Yeah. So that at the height of this Gen Z protest, there was that momentum. That was the perfect time for Ruto to go. If he has weathered the storm, and like it or not, Ruto is no fool. If you burnt him for a fool, you would get wise ashes. He's not a fool. That one I agree. Not being his supporter. So he's weathered the storm. And what he's now doing right now, like I said earlier, it is trying to bring the temperature down. And then these Gen Z fellows also broke a cardinal rule, maybe in warfare. We say, when a man is down, don't hit him. So there's a moment they had him down. So instead of watching the next steps, now, demands started coming, you want this, want this. So this whole thing is now in danger of becoming irrelevant. And that's why it brings back to me to my favorite point that I've been making this whole evening. There is need for these people to come up with a leadership structure. If they don't do so, they run the danger of losing this constitutional moment. It will go and it will never be recovered. You see what happened? There was no precedent for the protest that happened due to the Gen Z young people. Next time it comes, there's a precedent. People have seen what can happen. People can storm parliament, do what the Burkina Faso guys did. In Burkina Faso, actually, they managed to burn the whole thing down. Here in Nairobi, it was just by luck they burned a small section. So the answer to your brief question is Ruto is not going anywhere anytime soon. But in terms of parting words, before I go, I wanted to disabuse all those who keep saying whatever happened is a revolution. A revolution, by definition, means an abrupt change in governance or the overthrow of the constitutional order. What happened with Gen Z, in my terms, is called an awakening. These guys had power that they did not know they had. Now they know they have. What has happened is that the constitution is still there. And I heard the president speaking when he was dismissing the whole cabinet. He said, government business will continue as normal. Ministries will be run by permanent secretaries. So, in other words, nothing has changed. The constitution is the same one. The leadership structure has remained. So, even if he comes back with a new cabinet, it's like what some people like saying, you have changed the monkeys, but the forest has remained the same. If you would have cut down the whole forest, that one would have qualified to be called a revolution. So basically, I would like to end there and maybe say thank you for everybody who attended and to you for giving me an opportunity to have my voice heard, and then to wish you a good evening. Kwa heri ya
Maybe
baba.
dakika tu moja.
Maybe
I feel like the questions are just addressed to you. Just sticking for like a minute or two, please. And I see Mark has raised his hand and Fabish.
Yes.
So as you
Uh,
speak, please keep it brief so that we can also let Edwin go.
okay, thank you so much. And I want to thank you for giving us this opportunity so that we can be able to dissect what is happening in our country. I have listened to nearly every speaker that has spoken before me. And I think I have some few rebuttals and I give a short submission. You know, I heard when Mohammed was talking and many other speakers that they are talking about Gen Zs having leadership. They must have a leader, or they will be irrelevant. I want to put it clear that there is no profiling, division, or balkanization of generation or a grouping of people. Gen Z, they are not there to fight for the age bracket, but they are there to fight for the betterment of our country. So the issues that they are raising are pertinent issues that covers every age, any age, irrespective. So by saying that they must have a leader, Gen Z are not eyeing for any position. No Gen Z have ever come and say that we want to remove president because we want to occupy that office. No. And that is why you see even the other day, because now what I see is some factions of ODM and Azimio, protagonists, because they are used to that kind of contest, that when somebody demonstrates is in need of something, that you want to bargain for something and you want to, to be given a chance, to enjoy somewhere. But that is not the case. That is why you can see from Mohammed when he was talking, I know him, he's a diehard of Azimio, and I know when we rejected that there is no negotiation with Raila, I mean, he cannot come and take credit and carry the Gen Z agenda, which he was not part of, because he was told from day one that, Nze, sit at home, let us now fight for everybody. You have fought your fight, now it is our turn. It is our time. So Gen Zs, basically, they are just doing the duty of patriotic fighting for the country. They are not fighting for positions. They are not fighting to, that they want to get somewhere to eat. And it is the same thing that even happened when, Ruto will be formulating a new cabinet. No, Gen Z are not interested in those positions, but what they just want is to see that people who are occupying those offices are those that qualified by merit to hold the offices, people with integrity, people that they are clean when it comes to their track record in terms of corruption, and scandals free. So we don't need a leader, because these are the issues that affect all Kenyans, irrespective of their age. The leader that we are having now is the lion in our country, which it is corruption. Now, when it comes to what next after cabinet sacking, there are a number of issues that we are still expecting the president to do. One is we have to change the direction of our country. The time of just sacking, firing, moving forward should stop. Anybody that occupy a public office must take responsibility to the end. If you mess, if you steal, you will be fired and be held accountable to the last coin of any money that was stolen during your tenure. So we are expecting the president that he will also be engaging with the EACC to make sure that those cabinets that were fired and are suspected to have involved themselves in corruption are held into accountable, they are prosecuted, and action is taken, and those money that was stolen, if possible, can be recovered. Secondly, work is not done fully, because now we want to see a cleanup again in the police, and make sure that we bring the police service to the service that was inscribed in the constitution, but not a police force. That is what is expected, and I don't know why he omitted today. That is what even we were expecting, that he will start by firing Koome and bringing another competent IG of police and all others that are, because even the corruption also is in the police. Apart from extrajudicial killings, kidnappings, and all that, they are also involved in the corruption, and these are the things that we need to deal. So Gen Zs, we not yet get our full trophy. People are still, we are still fighting, but I want to commend the president for the action that he has taken. And you ask a question about some people are still, tweeting Ruto must go. Actually, people will come with manner of things. We know also there are some people that they are not supporting the cause, but they just want to bring confusion. Ruto must go now is not a narrative. That one is gone. Now we are talking of supporting the president because he has shown himself also that he is embracing this kind of change. And if you can remember, there was a time that there was a workshop in Naivasha, and the president himself was complaining of the incompetency of the CSS. He told them, in fact, even some of you don't know what is happening in your ministries because you never sit at the table and start and try at least to study what is happening in your ministry. So himself, he was feeling it, but only that maybe he was looking for a way to implement. So these come as a reprieve, and I'm sure, when we talk of all this mandamano, the president stand to be a biggest gainer. I talked even yesterday in a Kaikai platform that somebody who will benefit is not even the Gen Zs and the millennials. It is the president. And we have seen today that, he has now stamped his authority, and he has started to win back the trust of Kenyans, because we have seen now that he's a listening president. He has given a room for listening, and that is how we want him to continue and listen to others. Mohammed also was complaining that what will happen in future. That is how a good democratic governance work. Citizens, the patriots, must always also be vigilant. Public watch. When you are serving in an office, if I come today to your office and you are not according me the service that I deserve, either maybe you want me to, bribe you so that you give me the service. I don't need, I start my mandamano there single-handedly, and I can, we have institution that is working. I go to the next door, I meet the office of ombudsman, I lay my complaint, and action is taken. If you want me to involve in corruption, I go to the SEC office, I lay my claims, and action is taken. So this is a process that is not ending today. We will keep on, with our public watch, we will keep on being vigilant, and we'll continue to hold all the leadership accountable. Now, another problem that we are having now is the leadership of the parliament. Someone talk of a parliament, that this was the genesis of all this problem. I think now, since the president now, you already see what is happening. He will also stop meddling in the affairs of the parliament. Let parliament be fully independent, but not be micromanaged, in state house. Then the leadership of parliament also, William Ruto now must call his, UDA party and make the changes in parliament, because we have seen some, sycophants that they don't know the value of Kenyans. They are just there, to fulfill their ego. Like someone like Osoro, someone like Kimani Chungwa. We need president now to stamp authority and make sure that he have people who are mature in the house, people who listen to people, so that this shame will never go back again to him. So we need people, not the one that they are just stamping. So what is remaining now also is for the president now to make sure that his party, UDA, because they are the majority in parliament, they do shake up, they do a thorough cleanup in parliament. Let him look for a good majority leader that can be able to drive the agenda and the policies of the government in the house with decorum, with respect, with dignity. And another person to be cautioned also is the speaker. We have seen in many cases where speaker is becoming impartial. So we need also a speaker that is neutral. And even the constitution is very clear that the speaker should not hold any political party. But we see the current speaker that we have, because when you see the problem that we have now, we want to pass that divisions of political parties, that if you want to be heard, you must belong to this political party. If you want to voice, you must belong to a political party. That's why you see people like Otieno, people like Mohammed saying that you must form a political party, you must bring a leader. No, every Kenyan have a right to be heard, irrespective of whether you incline yourself in any political party or no. But every single Kenyan deserve to be heard his voice. Nobody have a monopoly of ideas in the country. The country is for all. So
Okay.
everybody should be heard. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Fabrice.
Amade, kindly allow me to interject a bit, kindly.
Okay, please keep it brief so that we also get to hear Mark and Kai talking.
Thank you so much. The big question that we should be asking ourselves is, what does Kenya need at this particular moment? What does Kenya need? Yes, the president has fired the cabinet secretaries, which is okay, but who is he going to appoint next, and what criteria is going to be used? For me, I will submit that the CSS should not be vetted by parliament. That is the first thing, because we've seen parliament over the years sanitizing corrupt governors, putting them back into office. So a CS should not be vetted by parliament or should not be a member of any political party. And I don't know, maybe our brothers here in law can advise us more. I think that should also be extended to the speaker of the National Assembly. The speaker should not be a member of any political party, because that is where we have problems. For instance, you could see what happened between Babu Owino and Moses Wetangula in parliament. That was very wrong. So these people, these key state officers, the same way we vet the Chief Justice, they should also be vetted the same way. But this time, let us have an external party vetting these people, but not any political affiliated committee or council or whatsoever. Again, somebody talked about the issue of labor. The issue of labor. I think we also have to question the functions of our particular ministries. For example, the Ministry of Labor and the Ministry of Education. What I expect from the Ministry of Labor should have a record of the current economic patterns in the world, and also actually get information about what actually Kenya needs in matters economics, and then through the Ministry of Education, universities and other higher learning institutions should have tailor-made courses that actually meet these needs. This way, together with the Kenya Bureau of Statistics, they should actually know the number of students currently maybe doing their high school or whatever, and how many have actually reached the threshold of doing a particular course. They should have that data. And through the ministerial collaboration between the Ministry of Labor and the Ministry of Education, we will be able to solve this problem of labor. Because we have some very, very funny courses in campuses which actually do not add value to our current economic system. So that is a problem that we need to address. Again, um, we can look at for example, the Kenya Defense Forces, how they do their recruitments. They have certain qualifications that they normally look at. I think the same thing should be extended to these cabinet secretaries and the and the speakers. We should have job profiles for them. We should have job profiles so that we know if a person is heading the Ministry of Finance, this person is not maybe a graduate of theology. I don't have a problem with that cause, but I'm just saying for the purposes of relevance.
We've heard you.
So that is my submission. Yeah.
Thank you, Ben. Mark and Kai, please.
Um, I would like to The first question
Hello, can
was
I
initially, what
give
did you
my
ask
response
about
before I
whether
leave to
Gen
go?
Z will be elected? According to the constitution, let me just
Hello?
respond back to
Mark,
the last
Hello?
speaker.
uh, my Kai was speaking.
Yeah, so the last speaker said like the what do you call the next incoming
Hello?
CSS who are yet to be
Is there
selected
anyone
for
here?
a
Hello?
multi-sectoral
Just a minute,
meeting.
Hello?
Mark, can you hear me?
I can actually hear Mark from the beginning. I didn't hear whatever he was saying all along.
Yes. Unfortunately, I don't know if you can hear us. Mark, can you? Mark. Okay, carry on, Kai. Sorry for that.
Hello, can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can
You
hear
can,
you.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Naipan,
can
can
you
you
hear
hear
me
me?
clearly?
Yes, we can hear you both.
Okay,
Hello?
so Kenya is governed by the constitution, is the supreme law. So the constitution clearly states that the cabinet has to be vetted by the parliament. So just because a few individuals feel uncomfortable, we can just change the constitution according to our feeling. That's number one. Number two, the question that you guys ask whether a Gen Z can qualify, according to the constitution of Kenya, there is those subsection that said about leadership and management skills for someone to be a CS, demonstrate leadership skills, work experience prior in senior management roles, either in public or private sector. So I think because most of us Gen Z we are 27 years and below, uh, I don't think there's someone who has held a senior position for 5 years and above that shows that experience. But millennials can be appointed because most millennials are 30, 32. They have been in such role, so they qualify. Yeah, so I think the 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 new war is for millennials and Gen Z. So millennials definitely qualify. Gen Zs they don't. The other thing is what next? Cabinet sacking. So what next is that initially when the president was speaking before he came to X, he had clearly said like there will be appointment of multi-sectorial whereby there will be both technocrats, different political parties. The youth are accorded 50 positions in that discussions and stuff like that. So that will be next, whereby now there will be a conversation of these are the Kenyans we believe can serve better because this next cabinet is a determinant whether Kenya will actually develop or will get stuck in this situation of pull and push of demonstration in and out years and years before we were born. There have been demonstration up to date. So this cabinet will be the determinant of a break-even point in matters of development in our country. So it will be so much crucial for everyone who cares about the vision of a better Kenya that they elect, they suggest names of, yes, human being, we are corrupt in nature. We are corrupt by in nature. That's why the Bible says we are all fall short of the glory of God. But I still believe that there are those who are their corruption level is less than 10%. They qualify and they are competent and they have a tracking record of what they've been doing previously. They have positive legacy of footprints they've left behind from their jobs, and those are the people that we believe will take Kenya to the next level. Because the point we are as Kenya, we have stalled since Kibaki time up to date. We need to go forward. We cannot just be in this space forever. So that is the point I wanted to stress on, that in as much as, and then also the demonstration part, there was someone who said people can go and demonstrate every other day. The constitution clearly states that everyone has a right as long as you are not interfering with the right of your other citizen. So if people decide to say we demonstrate every Tuesday and Thursday, for example, and you're going to CBD, you are interfering with the right of a business person because they cannot open their shops because they are scared. And they cannot obviously open their shops because you guys are demonstrating in front of their shops. They cannot open their business. That one you have interfered with the right of other Kenyans. There is no problem if you go demonstrate in Uhuru Park, by the way. you're not interfering with anyone's business. There's also another park next to Uru Park, just up, down to Serena. It's a public forum. If people want to demonstrate every day and go there, those places we don't interfere with other Kenyans, right? Then that is okay. And then, but as long as they are going to interfere with other citizens, right? Then that is not okay because there is no special Kenyan than another. Every Kenya has equal rights
Okay.
to do what is right at a specific point. And then there's someone who said I don't remember who. There's so many people who have spoken. I was just listening about leadership of Gen Z and stuff like that. Um, Gen Z have leaders, but they just don't want to be known, which is okay for them for obvious purposes. Everyone is scared of if I get known, will I be detained like Raila when he was known by Moi for 6 years, such stuff, which is still okay as long as the the movement is yielding positive results and also they heed to the voice of reasoning. Because if you win and then you keep on demanding and demanding and demanding, that means you are a dictator. And as Walie asked, how then can you hold accountable these people not to be dictator the way they are fighting dictatorship? So there has to be a convergence whereby as you take a peg from the eye of another person, you first take from yours. The accountability and transparency we are demanding as Kenyans, each Kenyan should also be accountable for their own action and that of people closer to them before they go out and say this is wrong in this. Because the reason why MPs are corrupt sometimes is because people, when they go visit them, they want them to be given 10,000 as pocket money and stuff. Where do you think these guys get that money? The money for development, they divert it to give those people money for CDF, they also divert for such stuff. But if Kenyans become honest and like, I go see my MP, I don't expect them to give me money because that money is for development and you hold them accountable for every coin, then that is the Kenya that we all want. Thank you.
Hello, can I go next? Hello.
Yes, you
Yeah, we
can.
can hear you. We can
We
hear
can
you.
hear you.
Kindly proceed.
Kenya does not need a revolution that is militant or this that does not respect the constitution. That's not what we need. Because the revolution that Kenya needs, and I'm old enough to have been here when I saw the revolution of 1992, 2002, 2005, 2007, 2010, and now I'm here today. Kenya has changed laws, Kenya has changed politicians. That's not our issue. The revolution that we cannot forget is the revolution that has changed what bishops, pastors, priests think of the political class, a revolution that has changed the expectations that we have of our leaders, of our ministers, and of every leader. Many people study the French Revolution. They don't study the French Renaissance. Many people study the origins of the American democracy and the revolution against the British and their civil war against slavery. They don't study when the nation developed a conscience. Kenya today has a conscience, as it did in 2002. Honestly, we need to keep the conscious revolution going. We've got to ask people, you are receiving 10 million in Harambe from someone who receives 10,000. You are spending X billions on going to the Olympics. Who should go and who is earning versus the athlete, versus the MCA, versus the minister. These are the questions, and that is the revolution. The revolution that we celebrate today, that even President Ruto himself has used his powers to agree with the people, is not a revolution of politics, it's not a revolution of presidency, it's a revolution of conscience, where we are asking the conscience of our leaders. Why are you showing off? Why are you not accountable? But also at the same time, it's the conscience of the people. People are more informed. They care more about every aspect of leadership. They're holding every leader accountable. Every MP, every CS, every president, and even every governor and MCA. That is the revolution. That revolution is more important than anything else. Because for anyone who belongs to this country of Kenya, rich or poor, black or white, red, Hispanic, Kikuyu, Kamba, whatever, a better Kenya with more conscience in the public to hold the leaders accountable and leaders who want to be accountable to the public with no corruption and a focus on a better Kenya for us all. That revolution we need. It's not a revolution about changing power or sijui upsetting the constitutional order. No, no. We need to build a country that the constitution, even if we make a mistake, the rule of law, the conscience of the public keeps us safe. 2017, 2022, corruption was not an issue on the ballot. Competence was not an issue on the ballot. Now, without a ballot, all of those things matter to us. That is the revolution. A more conscious public, a more caring public. That is the node President Ruto has given us. We need to maximize on that. And that is not tribal, that is not political, it is good for us all. Let us make sure the dream we have that is not tribal, that is not corrupt, that is not classist, works for every Kenyan.
Mark, final question. We saw former Prime Minister Raila Odinga just, get into this space with William Ruto. And I know that people were saying there was a silent handshake between William Ruto and Raila Odinga. And then later we saw him rescind everything that he had said. So do you think he needs to be part of this? Because I know he's used to dialogue, but we also see Gen Z saying we do not need dialogue at this point. So is this someone who should be involved in this situation that Kenya is currently going through? And then secondly, what role do you think opposition can play? Because now it looks like Kenyans are the main opposition.
Well, first and foremost, this generation Z has introduced new wine scheme to old wine. People looked for political funders for the demonstrations they couldn't find. People looked for tribal base we couldn't find because Eldoret, Bungoma, Mombasa, Wajir, all of them are complaining. So for once we are in a place where the country is not tribal. Gen Z does not have class. They all go to KFC, they all take Uber, they all understand each other. And they all